Hey guys, it's Tim, aka Weebo, and this is episode 3 of the Weebo and Director Show. We're just two best friends here talking about a bunch of nerdy stuff for you guys, talking video games, movies, TV shows, and more. And today, I think we're only talking video games. John, what's going on?
Not much, man. It's nice to be back for episode 3. But yeah, no, it's video games, and pretty much I think it's narrowed down to just one in particular, but we'll see.
So, before we get into John talking a full hour about Final Fantasy, I thought I'd not talk about, but I'd bring up another big game that was brought to the forefront on Thursday, and that was Ghost Recon Breakpoint. My bad. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's the latest game in the Tom Clancy series from Ubisoft, and the thing about this game is it is actually, I guess you can call it a direct, what's the word I'm looking for, sequel to Wildlands. So what they stated was the events of Breakpoint actually go right off of the DLC that we did get for Wildlands. Now, I only played the regular Wildlands. I never played the Wildlands DLC. Did you?
No, I did not get around to the DLC because I pretty much felt that Wildlands was a little bit repetitive, although it was fun. I just didn't feel the need for the DLC.
So, a couple things before, we're going to just hit this really fast, this game. So, yesterday, Ubisoft did announce that Breakpoint will be coming later this year. Trying to find where the release date was. I saw it, but now I can't remember. I think it's October 4th. There we go. Breakpoint on October 4th, coming to Xbox One, PS4, and I think on PC. Let me Google one little thing.
It should be on PC if they stick
with
it
is, but I think it's only going to the Epic Game Store and not Steam. That's what I wanted to double check. And I know I'm not a PC guy. John's a PC guy. I don't deal with the Steam and the Epic Store and all that stuff. I know the difference is apparently Epic Store gives the publishers a bigger cut compared to what Steam does,
making it more enticing for these publishers or developers, to be inclined to go to the Epic Store versus Steam. My only beef with Epic Store is its lack of features that Steam's already built up over time. One of those being the Steam Workshop, full of user mods. And apart from your Fortnite players, Epic Store doesn't have that large of a group, and the people that play Fortnite are not necessarily the same people that do the mods, that play all these other games. While they do play those, it's a different audience altogether for some of these games. So I'm curious to see where they're heading with it as they bring on all these AAA titles to the Epic Store and start building up their actual platform.
Now, let me ask you this. Epic Store's been around for, less than a year? Did Steam have all these great things within the first year? Or did they have at least more?
They had at least more.
Gotcha.
See, Epic, the way their platform was set up is like some of these other MMORPG type of downloaders. It's a downloader is essentially what it was. It wasn't actually an Epic Store per se until Fortnite hit it off and became a sensation in the battle arena genre. So if you look at it from a downloader, it was just the way to download your game. It's like saying Ubisoft's Uplay.
Right.
That's all it was. While there's the capability to buy some games and do all that, most of Ubisoft's games for PC are all they're all through Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Although you can download them through Uplay, they're all through Steam, and most people did it through Steam because of the player base, the community, and everything else that you could do, and it just links in.
Are you there?
Yes.
Oh, you kind of cut out there for a second. It's like, what happened? All good though, guys. So as you were saying, it all links together with Steam and stuff, and
so it all links together, and it made it easy for people to integrate their Uplay with Steam, so that people, so that you could just play your games. It just syncs up the key, and you could still play with all your Steam friends.
Right.
I mean, Epic's got a long way to go. I think that they can do it. I mean, they make a ton of money off of Fortnite, so investing in that platform should be something they should do. But I don't know where they're going to be in the next year, at least with modding and what games they're going to bring. I mean, they have, didn't we say Borderlands? The new Borderlands is going to be an Epic game.
Borderlands 3 is Epic Store exclusive. Right now, The Division 2 is Epic Store exclusive, and that's another Ubisoft game. So is Ubisoft going the Epic Store only route for all of their games, or just these two so far, is the question.
I think they're going to move forward with Epic only. They're going to see their player base start moving as they bring in their major titles. So my guess is that the next title, if they finally decide to go with a different Siege or another Rainbow Six, is they're going to move that to the Epic Store. And the moment that moves, they already have the Division 2 there. The moment that moves, they have their major online games over onto the Epic Store.
The way you were trying to describe how little the Epic Store has, would you, for some people that never use the Epic Store, but maybe they played like a big online game, is Overwatch? Would it be similar to kind of like the Blizzard's Battle.net deal?
Yeah, I think it has a little more than the Battle.net does. But that's what the Epic Store looked like when it started.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was just like that. It was just a downloader. That was it.
Because a lot of people would know that from World of Warcraft, or if they play, because I know it because I used to play Hearthstone, so that's how I know Battle.net and whatnot.
Yep. No, that's I think that's a good comparison of where it is,
right?
Kind of where it started, and Steam is where it wants to be.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And I mean, they've said plenty of times, Epic, that they're trying to add more to it and update stuff, but they don't want to just throw so much at once that it either is too much at one time for them to handle, or it's just they throw so much out there and then the people go, why'd you add that? We didn't want that. Or why'd you do this? Because they said it's a process, and I understand that.
And the other thing is, if they throw too much at it, it means manpower and time, which means money, which means having to charge your developers more to put their games there.
Right.
And that's what they don't want. So if they, do a stair-stepped approach at it and do QA and test it and see what the people think. I haven't used it in like a month or so I'm not sure if they have a beta feature where you can get the newest version and get to test it as it gets released versus the stable version. So I don't know if they have that. If they do, that'd be nice to see what's coming up as they release these.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I'm pretty sure they're going to have.
So moving forward, we're going to talk everything that was announced yesterday briefly in PlayStation's State of Play. So if you're unaware what State of Play is, they've done 2 of these now, PlayStation that is. It's basically their Nintendo Direct. They put out a short little video, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, announcing games coming soon, or even a new PlayStation coming soon. They announced a Days of Play. Basically, it's just a dark steel normal PlayStation. It's not even a PlayStation 4 Pro, which I'm like, I don't know how many people are really going to jump for that special PS4, but whatever. But some of the things, huh?
I said, not me. I have a Pro. There's no point in me getting that. And with the, and just a quick side note, with the PS5 so close and so around the corner, even if it is at the end of 2020, why am I going to waste $300 on a limited edition when I can just get the PS5? Now, collectors, I understand.
But the only difference in this Days of Play PS4, based off of compared to the regular PS4, is it's got more of a metallic look to it. Whoop-de-doo.
Yep, nothing special.
So as far as this State of Play video or presentation went yesterday, it was about 10 minutes long, and the most that they showed off was for Monster Hunter World's new expansion, Iceborne. Now, Capcom put out a little more information on what Iceborne is. It's going to be a $40 expansion, and the world of Iceborne is as big, if not bigger, than the original base world in Monster Hunter World itself. For $40.
And that's yeah, I mean, that's understandable if you look at it from the perspective of MMOs.
Right.
This is standard. Your expansions are usually full game price, just about. I mean, World of Warcraft's been this way. Final Fantasy's been this way. It's just a standard practice.
So here's my question. With this expansion being so big and it being such a long time since Monster Hunter World came out a year ago, some are saying that, there's two sides to the story. Some are saying, that's been too long. I'm going to get into Monster Hunter World and I'm not going to remember how to play, or I'm going to been playing other games for so long, I'm going to try to use those controls and this and that. And then others are stating, hey, give it a shot. This is such a big expansion that it's almost like you can almost just call it Monster Hunter World 2.
Right.
So they did talk about that. A game that I'm a little excited for was the Predator game they announced. It was Predator Hunting Grounds. It's being made by the same people that made the Friday the 13th game. And before you say, well, that game wasn't any good, you got to think about one thing. So the company that made it, I can't remember exactly what they're, Phonomics or something like that, who made the Friday the 13th game, had a very good system in place for what that game was. But because they didn't have a big studio like Sony worldwide behind them, they didn't have the resources for their online servers and this and that to actually be up to par with how many people actually played the game. Because what they said when...
Illphonic was the...
that's right. I thought that was Funphonic for some reason. So when they released that game, they were like, yeah, we got the Friday the 13th license. We think this game will do okay. They did not expect how many people actually played that game to play that game. And that's why there was like some online issues and server issues and stuff. But now that they're working on a PlayStation exclusive with Sony worldwide behind them, backing them, helping them with all of that, I think if you take some of the aspects of that Friday the 13th game, where it's like two perfect little dudes, you've either got you're Freddy and you're trying to kill people, or you've got Freddy against you and you're trying to help everybody survive. And that's what you're going to do with Predator. You've got either you're a Predator or you're one of the soldiers trying to take out the Predator. And I think this game can be really, really fun.
I do too. It reminds me back... it takes me back to AVP2, the game,
right,
where you were either a Marine, an alien, or a Predator, and that was the same concept here. Now, going back to the whole Friday the 13th, I think one of the reasons, apart from the whole studio thing, is it was very narrow to just Jason, and you really couldn't do much with him.
Right, and
versus
here's the reason:
Dead by Daylight.
Here's the reason. It's because they got the rights to Friday the 13th and to use some of the stuff from the movies, but they didn't have full rights to do whatever they wanted. They didn't have, they weren't able to just go out there and say, okay, we can put anything from any movie in here. With the Predator thing, PlayStation stated in the state of play that they are working with Fox, 21st Century Fox, to put this game together. So they're going to be able to use anything they need, anything they want to make this game as great of a Predator experience as possible.
I see microtransactions in the future. Not pay to win, but just microtransactions for skins like Schwarzenegger, Muddy, and stuff like that.
I get what you're saying. Did you know, though, there's Congress is trying to ban microtransactions.
Yes, and
they're basically calling it gambling for children, and that's illegal to have children gamble.
But it's not. I can understand where some of them can be seen that way. But like buying skins on man, if they ban microtransactions,
no, here's the thing: if it's mainly loot boxes, what they're trying to ban. Because if you think about it, buying skins is like regular DLC. You know what you're buying. The loot box thing is where they're calling it gambling, because it's I paid $5 for a loot box. Now let's see what I get. Oh, that wasn't worth $5. That wasn't what I was expecting. That's not what I wanted.
Let me try again. And this dates way back to CSGO skin gambling, which was an actual thing where you would open these boxes, you would obtain a knife skin, for instance, and you would gamble it off. So that would be your money down type of thing, and you would gamble it off. and you could still sell it. So if you ban microtransactions, a lot of the stuff that's traded on the Steam store is um, stuff from those loot boxes that you would get in like CS:GO
Right.
or PUBG, and you take those and you sell them on the market. I mean, I've made money off of those. I've made money off of CS:GO skins, and I know that a buddy of mine bought me the like three of the DLC packs for Siege because he scored a $400 knife skin,
Dang.
which he sold on the market.
But see, that's the thing, though. What people are worried about is kids being, quote unquote, taken advantage of. Them saying, hey, I'm going to buy this and hopefully I can get some new cool stuff for Fortnite. And then you open up the loot box. You paid your $5, just using that as a reference. I don't know how much loot boxes are in Fortnite, but you pay your money and then you just get an emote or a dance or something. And it's not really what you wanted. And they're calling that, quote unquote, like gambling because you're putting your money into something and not knowing 100% what you're going to get in return. You're gambling with your money. And that's what people don't like because it's taking advantage of children, they say.
But it's not just children.
I know that, but that's the main.
Their side. It is gambling. It is in a way because you do get addicted. You do try to get some better items, and if you don't, you try again and you try again. And I've seen it with people on my Discord channel where they will do that and they'll drop like $100 or so dollars just to get something. Sometimes they luck out and then they can resell that for more on the market. Now, granted, it's also up to parents who are coughing up this change for them to buy these things.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I have a friend that they went out for dinner with their boyfriend, she left her daughter with the babysitter. So she's out at dinner, had her phone put away. She had a special ringtone for the babysitter, so if that ringtone went off, she knew it was important. Other than that, she wasn't checking her phone. She gets home, and she's got 12 emails from Amazon that her daughter bought a bunch of stuff on her Fire tablet. And she was like, oh, crap, what is all this? Cool thing, called Amazon, told Amazon the situation, and Amazon was like, we understand, we'll refund you the money.
Yeah, no, I completely get that.
But most gaming, you're not gonna go call Epic and be like, my kid just spent $200 in Fortnite. I didn't approve that. Well, then Epic's gonna look at you and go, because they're not as big of a company that can take the loss. They're gonna look at you. They're not gonna look at you and go, okay, we'll take that loss and give you your money back. They're gonna go, shouldn't have put your account on there, or should have put a password, shouldn't put your credit card. That's the difference between these gaming studios or PlayStation or Xbox compared to Amazon, who's got the money to lose.
Right. They can also make it age appropriate or age restricted to be able to open loot crates.
But you can't. How can you do that when, say, like for instance, I've got Fortnite installed on my PlayStation and my Switch because my son likes to play it. Granted, I watch him while he's playing because, I work in my living room. That's where my desk is. And then he's playing on the TV right here, so I see everything he's doing. But what if, your son's playing on the Nintendo Switch, it's not hooked up on the TV, and he goes and he buys a loot box because, your credit card's linked to your Nintendo Online account? How can you, what's the word I'm looking for, make that age appropriate when on the Nintendo itself, on the Switch, you have to be logged in online on whatever account is got the Nintendo Online account itself. So he's got to be on my profile to even play online with Fortnite. He can't be on his profile. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, unlike how the PlayStation does it, where the PlayStation has child accounts where the parent account is the one that has the card on file versus the
No, you could still do that, but only whatever account has the online service linked to it is the only profile allowed online. So if you have a child account and you want to say, okay, you're going to play Fortnite, okay, just do it because it's all linked on the same Switch. It can't. It's got to be whatever profile. Unlike the PlayStation, where if one profile on that PlayStation, has PlayStation Plus, then they can all play online. With a Switch, it's you have to be on whatever profile is signed up with Nintendo Online.
Essentially, what they would have to do is fix that if you want to age restrict it to where 18 and over,
Right.
Whatever the gambling laws are, or remove it completely.
Exactly. And that's where the issues come where, we'll make it just for adults, but what if your kid's playing on your account because that's the only way they can get online and they're playing with their friend, So there's a lot of anyways.
So what they should do is how PUBG originally had it until they tried and started, until they turned it into a microtransaction. So PUBG originally was, as you win, as you play, you get credits.
Right.
Those credits can be used to open the boxes. Then or to buy the boxes and then you open them. Then what happened was they turned it into microtransactions. You use those credits, you buy the boxes, and then you still have to buy the key to unlock the box. So they turned it into what CSGO does, where you'll get the box randomly after a match, and then you still have to buy the specific key that matches that box. And it's like $2.50. So it's not like you can go and stock up on keys, because if you do, you're not guaranteed to get a box that matches that key.
Gotcha. See, so what I like what 2K does with the NBA 2K and the WWE 2K game is, there's loot boxes, but you don't pay a penny. It's you play through either a wrestling match or you play through a basketball game, and depending on how you do in your match or your game, you earn virtual credits, and then that opens your loot boxes. You don't pay a penny yourself.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how 2K does it. You earn credits by playing the game, and then that is what you can use to unlock either a gold, a bronze, or a silver loot crate or loot box, whatever you want to call it. I know I at least know that's how they do it for NBA 2K and the WWE game, because those are the two that I've played. So I think you can go on the PlayStation Store or the Xbox, Microsoft Store and buy virtual credits, but you don't have to, because you can just grind in the game and actually unlock it that way. So it's another way to get things either for your player, like, different jersey colors or different t-shirts for your wrestler or different moves for your wrestler. You can unlock stuff that way through like the My Career, but you don't got to pay anything. The more you play, the more rewarding it is.
Right. Now, I can still agree with buying skins, buying stuff that isn't random, isn't luck.
Exactly, and that's the
digital
thing
content,
that's fine.
It would be considered straight digital content.
That would be quote unquote DLC, not loot boxes.
Exactly. So not your typical Overwatch, CS:GO loot boxes type. And I'm completely down with that, because those things are annoying, and having to unlock them with a key and then they just sit there. What I actually do is I sell my CS:GO boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll sell them for like $3 to $5 a pop, and people buy them, and then they buy the key, and then it's like $7.50, and then they're hoping they get something that's worth, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100.
Right. So as we veered off topic for about 5-10 minutes there, back to the state of play, they also announced, well, they didn't announce, we already knew, but they showed off more of the Medieval remake, which is coming out October 25th, just in time for Halloween. Does this get you excited at all?
Childhood nostalgia.
I mean, yeah, I played, because I remember back in the day, PlayStation Magazine came with the demo discs. Do you know how many times I played through the Medieval 1 demo? I can't even count.
Oh, I can't. Man, I forgot all about the demo discs. Like, that was, you didn't have a game? Oh, you finished your game? Well, you got the demo discs. Just keep playing through those. We'll eventually buy you another game.
Hold on. What was there was one game that I probably played 300 times.
Wasn't Parappa the Rapper, right?
No, it was Tomba. Do you remember Tomba, where you're this like jungle kid and like there's wild pigs that are the enemies?
Yes.
I played that demo, I don't know how many times. It had to be at least 300 times. Easy. And the demo's only like not even 20 minutes of the game.
Can you guess what demo I played over and over again? And I've played all the games in the series. Every single one of them, and I love them.
My first
It's a
guess would be
shooter.
Final Fantasy, but I think that's too easy.
Yeah, no, it's a shooter. It's a third-person shooter.
Third-person shooter. Because my next guess is going to be Chrono Trigger.
No, think third-person shooter stealthy.
Talking about Metal Gear Solid?
No, it's not a Metal Gear Solid. Come on.
Motherfuckers. Siphon Filter?
Yes.
There
Thank
you go.
You got it. Took you a while. Now, I used to play that one over and over again, and that's a game that I wish they would come back and remake.
Everybody does.
Yeah, that was such a good story.
So,
I've gone back and played it on an emulated device.
So another game they announced it's called River Bond. It's a 4-player co-op game where it's like in the art style of Minecraft, I guess you can say. And you're like these knights and you're defeating all these different things, going in different like dungeon looking deals and whatnot. It's a cool little kids game.
Yeah,
then there was
doesn't look bad.
There was a one other game. I can't remember what it's called. But you're a flying squirrel and it looks amazing, but I probably would never play it. I can't remember the name all of a sudden. I had it here and it disappeared. Away. That's right.
Survival.
Away. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're like a flying squirrel and the visuals are amazing.
Like you're going through your habitat, or what is it? A forest. It's like you're in a forest. And at times the forest is on fire, and you're trying to jump and fly. But
you're
one of
also
the crazy
avoiding
things
predators.
Huh?
Like you're also avoiding your natural predators.
Right.
You're trying not to get eaten.
And then there was this one spot where you're the flying squirrel, and you jump off of this cliff, and you're like gliding down, and then all of a sudden you like catch something in midair to eat. I was like, what the hell was that? But then
I don't know, but that looks awesome.
State of Play showed off Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That's right.
John's got a lot to say about that one.
Yeah, man, back in 2015, I was in class and we were all we said forget you because we all had some rumors of what might happen. And even the instructor was there with us, and we were all watching it because he was a huge Final Fantasy fan. And man, it was a party when it got announced. That's all I got to say.
It was announced at PSX 2015, and then we saw like a couple screenshots at different events, maybe once or twice, and then virtually nothing until this week. And they did announce that more info will be coming in June. And the one thing that everyone's now thinking is, are we going to get more information either at the Square Enix press conference at E3, which is now in the old Sony slot, Monday at 6 Pacific, or over the weekend? They did this last year. I forget with what game they did it with, but they're doing another it's a Final Fantasy VII Symphony concert. So could we get info there? And the Square Enix press conference? Could we only get stuff at the press conference, only at the concert? Nobody knows. All they said was more info on Final Fantasy VII coming in June. But a press release from Japan, before I let John talk, I want to talk this last part. A press release from Japan did confirm that the rumors of Final Fantasy VII being episodic is 100% true. The game will release episodically, but they did not say how many episodes. It just says a multi-part series is what Final Fantasy Remake will be. And so now you speculate.
It wasn't too much of a rumor, though. It wasn't too much of a rumor.
True.
They brought that topic up and said that would be the only way to do it justice because of how long the original game was.
But they had never 100% confirmed this is an episodic game. You know what I mean?
Right, but you can't.
But this confirms it now.
Game. You can't take the 40-hour game and translate it to what like Final Fantasy 15 is, even though that game's averaging about 40 to 48 hours just story. You can't translate that because there's so much you can do and so much to explore now that you can build out the massive cities and everything, that it makes sense to do it.
Now on that, in this article here from IGN, it does state Producer, I'm probably going to butcher this name, Yoshinori Kitatsu, previously said back in 2016 that if this game goes episodic, each episode will estimately be a full-scale game. So you probably shouldn't be thinking of each episode as in like a Telltale episode or a Life is Strange episode or even a Hitman episode. No, it's like each episode is the size of a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, it's going to be a Final Fantasy 15, so 40 to 50 hours base with completionist. And the only concern I have is how does that translate over to the next game? Because they are going to leave a cliffhanger, but will they have a I want to say kind of a level adjustment? So if you beat the first part and you buy the second part and you start the second part, does your stats from a saved game translate over and then adjust all the enemies throughout the game to match your current level at which you ended?
So like with the Telltale games, like with the Walking Dead games, whatever you did in episode 1, whatever you do, say the first ever Walking Dead, first Telltale's Walking Dead, whatever you did in episode 1 affects what happens in your episode 2. If you were to just start episode 2 from scratch, there's a basic it can go through. But if you play episode 1 and then go into episode 2, your save and your choices in episode 1 depict how episode 2 plays out for you from the beginning through the end of the episode and so forth through episodes 3 and 4. So you're wondering if there's something similar like that where your choices in the first episode directly impact how the second episode plays for you compared to if someone only starts with episode 2.
Correct. And specifically level adjustments.
Right.
So not just the materia that you're going to have, the weapons that you've acquired, but the level adjustment, because if you start fresh, where are they going to start you on a level? You're still going to be like a level 1 or whatever, fresh on part 2, but the enemies should all be adjusted to that.
And see, and that's where, sorry to cut you off real fast, but that's where you can't compare it to the Walking Dead games or any Telltale game because you don't level up. You don't, collect weapons. You don't collect loot. You don't collect different things. It's just you play through the story like you're watching a movie, but it can branch out different ways depending on your different choices. It's not like character development.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the biggest things because your materia also levels up. So if you have an all materia, if you have a fire and ice, they all level up and, does that translate over? There's a lot that needs to translate over from part 1 to part 2 for it to properly transition, I would say.
So I told you earlier I had a question for you, and here's where this question comes in. It's a two-part question. Part 1, how much do you think each episode is? Do you think each episode's a full $60 game?
Yep.
Okay, now here's my second question. As somebody who's never fully played through Final Fantasy VII, only played 5 or 10 minutes here, 5 or 10 minutes here, 4 times maybe. What is stopping me from instead saying, oh, I don't want to spend $60 on, I'm going to throw out a number, 3 episodes, when I can go on my Nintendo Switch and get Final Fantasy VII for $15.99?
You're going to miss out a lot.
Persuade me.
So the first thing is, like I was saying, you can't translate it straight over because there's so much to do. That amount of stuff, with today's graphics, everything you can do, the amount of rendering, you can render an entire city. So if you watch the trailers, you are running down the actual streets. And if they're making this in an episodic nature, there's so much more that you can explore. They're going to expand on, the slums. They're going to expand on the side quests. Because one thing that it didn't have a lot of in the original was so many side quests, which a lot of today's Final Fantasies do. Because there's much more you can add to it. There's more open world to it. Although it was open world then, it didn't have that many side quests in like Midgar. We didn't get to explore so much of Midgar. We were only limited to the slums, Sector 7, Sector 8, and what I think and like they already said this, they're going to add more to it. It's not going to be just the standard story that we're used to. They're going to fill in the gap.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, like I was talking to you earlier with Don Corneo, I think there's going to be more to that. They might make it longer. There's going to be more exploration to do, more folklore that you can interact with. More NPCs that provide you more of an in-depth story than the original one did.
And I mean, another thing to think about also is when they first announced this back in 2015, it was being done by Square Enix, but they had an outside developer working on it. They did announce back in 2017 that because they weren't what's satisfied with the progression that the game has had since 2015 being announced, or even whenever they started this till 2017, they have moved all development of this game in-house at Square Enix. So that's another good thing to think about.
Yeah, that was the proper move. The teams that they have, the people they brought in, it's their own crew, and any new people they hire just for this development, they control it all. When you outsource it, you have more of a kind of, from a compliance standpoint, does it meet the requirements that I've set? And apparently it didn't, and that's what you risk, is losing all that time, which they did. Now they brought it in house, and I think that's where it should go, back to the roots, just like it was when Squaresoft created it back in the day.
And this is similar to what Nintendo recently did with Metroid Prime 4. They told us Metroid Prime 4 was in the works. I forget what the studio that was working on it was, but Nintendo wasn't satisfied, and they literally put out a video online and said, unfortunately, development of Metroid Prime 4 was not up to par. We are restarting. We are moving it to a new studio because the studio that was working on it before could not meet our expectations. Sorry, the game will be delayed. More information will come in the future. And I like that, they're not just going to settle for, oh, you're putting out this game. Okay, do what you need. Make the game. We'll make money off of it. No, they're making sure that it's the best possible game they can. And if it's not working out, they'll find somebody else to do it.
And that's the biggest thing to consider with this game. 22 years by the time it comes out, minimum. So think about how long people have been asking for the remake every year since it was made.
Mm-hmm.
Every year since a new system came out. So since the PS2 came out, let's remake it on here. Let's remake it on here. The PS3 came out. Let's remake it on here. PS4 came out. Let's remake it. How many years since the PS4 came out and they finally announced it in 2015? We're 4 years in, and this and the first trailer are the most we ever got as far as information.
Right. Now,
so
before you're going to break down this trailer and some other things you want to compare, but I have one other question for you that kind of goes with your breakdown. The major concern with this trailer that dropped yesterday that I saw online was everybody saying, what the hell is up with Barrett's voice, and why does he sound like Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder?
Oh my God.
Did you get that comparison or no?
No, I didn't even catch that.
I saw a lot of people online talking about that.
I mean, now I got to go back and listen to them again. And then I have to listen to what they did in Advent Children, because they set the precedent for what his voice would be in Advent Children. I mean, that if you listen to the way he talks, and you've seen the way he talks in the game,
mm-hmm.
He's very slang. He's got his own way of talking. Like, I'm thinking the text, because you read it, so a lot of the words are cut short there. Nothing, the way that's the way he talks, and that's the way he's talked in the game. And just listening to the dialogue there, I mean, it's on par with what the game was and how he talked in the game.
Gotcha. But that was the one thing that I saw online where most people were kind of like, what the hell is up with that? Kind of like not liking. everything else, I didn't see complaints of anything really, other than some people did make the comparison that between this trailer we got yesterday and the original 2015 trailer, we could tell some differences in the character models, like Cloud, for instance.
And that's what I'm looking at right now is what differences there are. It's not too much, honestly. I mean, where do I have the other one? Here we go. Let's see. Where does he show up here? So their models are the same. Okay. They should show him on a frontal coming up. So this is the 2015.
Yeah, and when you look at that trailer compared to the new trailer, the lighting is a lot more blues and greens and darker. And maybe that's what they're trying to compare, is the lighting itself wasn't.
Because here you actually get gameplay.
Right.
More gameplay than you did. So see, this is what I was saying. You run through the streets. There's a lot more to explore. You were limited to just a quick scene before you jumped on the train, and here there's more. But I don't see too much difference.
Because I found an article here that's got side-by-side comparison photos where you can tell some of the differences, especially in Cloud. Cloud's hair is better now, and it's mainly the lighting.
Oh, Barrett's got some differences too, a little bit. But I mean, where I stopped, it's kind of.
But when you look at these differences, it's, oh yeah, that's 2015. The game was at, this level of development compared to, it's now 2019. The game has been worked on for 4 years. Of course they're going to look different because the character models are going to evolve with how far in development they do get.
Right, and that's also, this is what they shot out just to let everybody know. Nobody was going to care what they looked like. They look better than they did in the original. They were up to par what Advent Children was, because here's the other thing. A movie came out based off of as a sequel to the game, and that set a standard for what the models would look like, because they rendered them and we saw our favorite characters would look like with today's technology. So they have to at least be on par with what the movie had, and I think they did better than that.
So you wanted to, show some comparisons with the new game, the old game, and all this stuff. Go for it.
Okay, so let's get back to the actual trailer here. So this is the State of Play trailer, and a lot of people were saying that most of this takes place in Midgar, or if not all of it. While I agree that the first game can explore all of Midgar and pretty much fill an entire game if they do it correctly, the trailer is not all Midgar. So it's got to go further back. Where was it? Oh, did I miss it?
You went too far.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. So this is not Midgar. I mean, the only time in the original game, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but the only time in the original game where it's flame and fire like this, see, even though this blows up here and they to this and he sees Sephiroth, I think they twisted that. So the scene says Midgar. Him being there does not. Him being there with the flames and fire, that's a Nibelheim incident. That's the flashback. That's the fire at the house. That's right before Cloud realizes who he is. And that's the time when we see Sephiroth in flames, not in Midgar. And so I'm trying to place this. Now we do see Sephiroth in Midgar, essentially, or to an extent, and that's when Genova awakens in the Shinra lab. So it's mixed thoughts here on what they're doing, how they're changing it to play on the story, but it does, as you can see here, this is what we just saw from the explosion. So this is Midgar, this is the reactor area, possibly, but him here, that's a change in the story, or the timeline at least. And like I said, they can expand on it. Um, which, on another note, he doesn't awaken and doesn't come back until the Shinra lab. That's way after this. That's when Aerith gets kidnapped and they go rescue her. So I'm not concerned about it, but I did see some people complain about that.
I mean, it's a trailer. You can jump around from things to things just to show some cool points from the entire game itself. They didn't say this is this part of the game only in this trailer. They just dropped a trailer. They didn't they didn't specify that this trailer is a this only trailer or that only trailer.
Right. And I do like being able to see a little bit more of the battle sequence here, and we could see that they still have their limits. I mean, it's the same concept so far, except it's active battle. It's real time battle, similar to what Final Fantasy 15 is. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. Being able to see your, what do you call it, all your enemies and what they would look like now. There was one shown here in one of the, is this the one? We did see one of the enemies that they were fighting. So that's the Scorpion. That's your first official boss. So I can play through this real quick. It's only a minute long. So this is all either first reactor or second reactor or a mix of both. It just depends. Real quick, I guess we finally get a voice and a true image of what Aerith is supposed to look and sound like. I think this is going to affect a lot of people because I know me. I definitely broke down when she, when it happened, when she got killed.
You can give spoilers. This game's how old?
I know, but there's still people that have never played it because
True.
Our generation played it. The new generation doesn't want to touch those little pixely looking games.
But that's like saying, I'm not going to ruin Ferris Bueller and let you know if he got home before his parents.
That's true. But anyways, yeah. So, I mean, I think you'll be able to get attached more. But this scene brings us back to our conversation we had earlier about the difference in the Japanese trailer dialogue versus the American or the English trailer.
Right.
So this is all different from the original, by the way. And I'll play back the original first. Is it? Nope. So it's gonna be this one. And which, by the way, you just saw the Scorpion. That's what he looked like in '97. And that's what Cloud and Barrett looked like in '97. He had a more pronounced beard and flat top, but still.
I don't expect the sword to be as, big compared to him either. More 1-to-1 ish, maybe 1-to-2 a little.
Yeah, the sword, man. I'm waiting to see Sephiroth's sword.
Ooh,
that thing's like 3 times his height. So this is the original, and you could already see the difference. She goes up to him, what happened? And you respond, you better get out of here or nothing. If you respond nothing, then the flower conversation comes up. So let's respond with don't see many flowers. And of course, now it's when she offers you one and you actually buy one. The key thing to this is when you buy one, you actually, it allows you to give that flower to Tifa later on, which is part of this whole scheme that Final Fantasy VII had, where depending on how you play, who you talk to, how long you talk to the characters, there's a date scene. You can either have a date with Barrett, Yuffie, Tifa. I don't know if Yuffie's in it, but it's Aerith, Barrett, and Tifa. You can have a date with any of them. As weird as it is, you can have a date with Barrett. So that was a part of the original game. I don't know if they're going to have those quirky little things in the remake. It'd be interesting to see that. But you could see a huge difference in the interaction here and how it's more impactful in the new version with her, and it gives you the beginning of the emotional attachment between the two characters. um, and sets the ground for that character development. So when he says "I'm fine," you're making fun of this. We
Right.
in English we require the "I'm fine," and in the Japanese version he just goes, "Ugh."
Yeah,
Just
because when she offers him the flower, there's Kotaku put up a video comparing the English version to the Japanese version, and in the Japanese version, she offers him the flower, and he just goes, "Ugh," and walks off. But in the English version, for some reason, when he walks off, he says, "I'm fine," and then walks. Why they needed to change that? I get it, John. Because at first I was like, why would they need to change anything? And then I wasn't thinking. John goes, well, you can't easily translate everything from Japanese into straight English because it wouldn't make sense. So there you go. But why do you have to change a grunt to actual words?
well, because see, Japanese is a lot of context.
Right.
You're not going to repeat like, you're not going to say he said 3 times. It's like saying, well, he said this, and then guess what? This was also said. In
Right.
English, you would have to say and talk about the subject more often.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's all about context. In Japan, if you know the context, you just keep going because everybody already knows what the context is. It's only if the context isn't known that you would say that you would announce the subject.
Right. Makes sense.
I think that's part of it here, and it's just the way that's a culture difference. We need the "I'm fine" because just a "huh" sounds too
Because I mean,
primitive
to
to us.
me, if he grunts, either it's "I'm fine." Yeah, I might think that, but at the same time, if he grunts, it may be like, "Bitch, get out of my place" or "Get out of my face." I mean,
So that brings me back to the dialogue in the original.
the context thing too.
Right. So that brings me back to this dialogue. You have the option of saying, "Get out of here," nothing, hey, and then notice that's her response, and then you can either say, "Never mind, I don't see any flowers around here." You have the option here. So I think that, like you said, you could take it either way. Well, back in the original, you could do it either way.
Right.
You had dialogue options, response options, and it's a minute change that I don't know why people are even calling it out. Like, just wait. That might change it again. We don't know.
Exactly.
We just don't. But this trailer did show a lot of good content. That's the old one. Like I said, number one is this one. This is the iconic moment. So we've already seen the intro with her, or in a teaser way back in the day, to show the graphics, I believe, of the PS3, was it? And now we see her actually with the flower. We see them interacting, and I was hoping we'd see more of the battle between them, or with them. Sorry, not between them, but with them together. Dang it, I keep going past it.
Hey, be fair. Technically, you weren't hoping for anything because you didn't know this was coming.
I've been hoping to see more since the original in 2015. Okay. It's just
Well, there we go. We kind of see the comparison of the sword to him. So it doesn't look as comically much bigger as it did in the original. It's still bigger than him, but it doesn't look as comically bigger. You know what I mean?
No, that's not the one. I gotta go back to this one and go back to the battle. It's not comically big. I mean, it's about right.
Well, there was one shot you showed where it looked like huge compared to him.
Oh,
Like right there.
yeah. No, it's not huge compared. I mean, if you measure this part, I mean, it's about the same.
Right.
It's not that much different.
True.
I mean, I actually think it looks longer here, and I think that's better. I mean, it's supposed to be a massive sword. This is his original. That's the Buster Sword. Now, this guy, I don't remember this guy being in there until the next reactor. So the second one that you guys go after, which is where it leads, where y'all get caught. And when you guys get caught, he falls into the church. And that's where he meets Aerith for the second time, in the church where she takes care of the flower bed. So I don't think I have any footage of him right now, but I like seeing. Oh, no, I do. I saw him a minute ago in this one. I don't know if that's who we're actually fighting right here. Oh, that's yeah. It's
Oh
a
yeah.
very similar. It's a similar one. This one has just guns, but there is the one with the blades, and I want to say the one with blades is near the second reactor,
Gotcha.
but it's very similar. Once again, I want to go back to the boss fight. The biggest detail here is the awesome boss fight. Where did it go? Did I pass it? That's the reactor blowing up. It's before that. It's after the timer. So there we go. So I love that they showed the boss this time,
Right.
and with the boss being shown. Okay, so here's a picture of her fighting with him. Where's the? Was that before or after?
I want to say it was after.
Yeah, it's way. There it is.
There it
Boom.
is.
Look at that, perfect. Now, this part is also different because you don't fight the boss. Let's see. Hold on.
Well,
It's only got to be Barrett and Cloud. Okay, so let's look. Yeah, it's only Barrett and Cloud. Perfect. So that's after Cloud plants the bomb, has the little issue where he hallucinates or hears things. So okay, you know what?
were you wrong?
No. He doesn't see Sephiroth, but I can see why they put him there. So when he goes to plant the bomb to get the timer going, he starts hearing things. He starts having like his conscience talking to him, and it all has to do with the reunion and everything going down with Sephiroth. I'm wondering if they visualized it instead. I'll give you what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
So this is why you have to go through it over and over and over again. Boom, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he has these throughout the whole thing. So he starts hearing these things, and we know that it's not a reactor. Later on, we know what the Mako or Mako energy is. But I'm thinking that they visualized one of the times that he had one of those hallucinations later down the road.
You think
In
they just added
the
it
first
earlier?
or second yeah, in the first or second reactor.
Gotcha.
Once again, you don't visually see him until later.
Gotcha.
And they only go through 2 reactors. So the first one they blow up, the second one they get caught in the process of it blowing up. So that's a tough one. But I can see where they're going with the visualization of it. Once again, it's a new era, new people
Right.
playing this game, new audience. So you have to tell it more before you got to read it, and you were more involved. But I'm happy with it. I'm happy with what they're showing. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Oh, and here's the scene I was talking about with the fire and Sephiroth. This is the scene where he sees Sephiroth, and Sephiroth's killing everybody, and it's in flames, and they're both in there. So this is the iconic Sephiroth moment that was remade in Advent Children on the flashback.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So that's the moment that everybody remembers of Sephiroth in fire.
Gotcha. Now that I have seen that I have gone the whole way through.
Right. That is the flashback. So that is them talking about. So they're in the hotel room in Nibelheim, and they're talking about the moment when Sephiroth went crazy and destroyed everything, and when Cloud supposedly fought him at the reactor that's out there. When he's telling that story, after him telling that story and going in the mansion and everything, and and find Vincent and whatnot, and you go out to the reactor, that's when he learns more about his truth. That's when you fight. I believe that's when you fight one of the generals. I'm not sure. I do know that he's there, and he looks into the containers in the thing, and that's where they're doing the genetic experiments on them, like they did on Sephiroth, like they did on Cloud, like they apparently did on Zack, you know, during that time.
Right.
So I'm just not sure what that is, and that's my biggest question.
Gotcha.
Is why is he being visualized there, or why is he there in general, when he doesn't actually really get introduced until the Shinra building. So, I mean, I'm excited for this.
Oh,
I just don't
trust
wanna
me.
wait.
You've been talking about this for so long, like since that first trailer dropped. Every other conversation is, so they should add this, or they should do that, or when are we going to see this?
Any news?
Right? Have you heard anything yet?
So, back on the full game thing, real quick. I forgot to mention this earlier. The original game had 3 discs.
Right. That's why I brought up the whole maybe 3-episode thing earlier.
Right. But the last disc was maybe 4 or 5 hours long, give or take. It depended on, I mean, it could be way longer if you were a completionist. That last disc was where you went and you could fight the ultimate weapons. You can level up to 99, do whatever you wanted. But it's mainly dungeon where you go down into the northern crater and you start, fighting Nova, fighting the versions of Sephiroth in there. The first disc is roughly 20 to 25 hours. The second disc, I think they were saying anywhere 15 to 20. And this is first run through. So this is no speed run. This is, you've never played it, so you don't know where you're going, what you're doing. On average, you're looking at 48, 50 hours for the whole game. All right. For a game back then, that's a long time, considering Final Fantasy 15 is 50 hours, 40 to 50 hours. So think about that. The first disc, if they just expanded on the first disc alone, they can create 2 full games just out of that. Because you just have to consider that you have double the amount of content that you can do now. I mean, just when they escape Midgar, I can't wait to see what that bike scene is going to look like.
So,
and what they're going to do with that.
So I've got this from GameFAQs.GameSpot.com. It says this is for a first run of each disc of the original Final Fantasy VII. It says roughly disc 1 was 20 to 25 hours.
Yep.
Disc 2 was 15 to 20. And disc 3 can be beaten anywhere from 2 to 3.
Yep.
And then it also, that's just an average. Could take you longer, could take you quicker, depending on your, what's the word I'm looking for, abilities and your, how well you are at the game.
Right. And once again, if you're a completionist or not.
Right.
So, I mean, if you really want to play the game, play it until you're 99, and then your final boss is going to be way harder, because that's one thing that Final Fantasy did. If Cloud is level 99 when you go to fight the final versions of Sephiroth in the crater, he is way harder than if you weren't at level 99.
Right.
So, which is crazy to see that back in the day in games, that there's a level adjustment.
But I mean, now my last question on Final Fantasy: when do you think it comes out?
So
now I'm only asking episode 1.
Yeah. So while Amazon, of course, does their pre-order thing and dates it at the end of the year, it's got to be next year. If they have a big announcement, they said they're going to do something, more to come, E3, I think the more to come is a release date, or at least a release quarter. Tell me Q1
And like
or
I said,
Q2 of next year.
and like I said earlier, even if episode 2 is not even close to being ready or started or anything, as long as they know when they can have episode 1 done, then they can drop episode 1. As long as they know kind of okay, we want this much length between each episode's coming out, then they can say, okay, episode 1 can come out. I'm going to say that Christmas time this year may be too soon. Maybe March, April 2020 for episode 1.
I would say March.
Well, you got to think, usually new PlayStation games, like the big spring games, God of War was March. Days Gone this year was an April release. So March, April.
Yeah, I would go with March.
Now here's my other question. Do they do 1-year intervals between the
That's what I'm hoping. Okay, so I have no idea where they're going to go with that. It depends on how they're doing production.
Right.
So if the development of the game is saying they're going to develop it all the way through nonstop and then just cut somewhere in between. So, hey, the storyline is good enough to end on a cliffhanger here after game 1. They're still continuing production because it's a full storyline all the way through that they already know. They know the beginning and the end. It's not like God of War where they said they want to release 5 more games, but they don't necessarily know what the end result's going to be yet. Nobody's written the storyline all the way through
exactly
5 games. Although we have seen what happens to Kratos in the mural. I mean, maybe that's the end game. It still doesn't give you a full outline. They have an entire storyboard that they can play off of and change a little bit, but they have a pre-made storyboard. It's the original game.
Exactly.
So we know that they can just continue on, and they've probably already written it. We don't know.
I would assume for the most part
for a year. I would hope for a year in between at the most.
Here's the
maybe
question, though. If people get that episode, whatever the next episode is, say we got episode 1, episode 2, if people get episode 1 and they're just so jazzed for it and jacked for it that they play through that and complete it quick, is that year too long for them to be like, all right, I beat this? And then they announce, hey, Final Fantasy VII episode 2 comes out in April. Say they announce that in like October or July or something. Hey, next March, episode 2. And then people will be like, okay, cool. And they either forget about that or it's so much time in between, they go to pick it back up and they're like, I'm kind of not into this now. I kind of wanted to play it all at once. And that's the other question that I would ask is, I know you won't, but do you think it would be plausible for somebody to say, okay, I'm going to wait till all the episodes come out and then play it all at once instead of having to wait between episodes?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. Now, another question that brings to mind is, with it being episodes, are the episode, back to the full game, is the episode going to be full game price, but be an expansion where it requires game 1 to play?
That's what I was thinking too.
Because then you don't need to worry about your saves. You can't continue on and play the story on 2 without playing the story on 1.
That's what I was going to ask. Could you go to load up episode 2 and it say, this cannot be a new save cannot be created. You must import a save from episode 1 or whatever.
Please insert disc 1.
Well, we can get it digitally though, so you can't really. I know what you're saying though.
Yeah, like the original.
Right.
Please insert disc 1. Yeah. I would think people might hate that. I mean, but
would it be so weird if wherever episode 1 ends, if you just say, "Oh, I'm gonna say somebody doesn't know its episodes, episode 2 is out," and they go, "Oh, my boyfriend likes Final Fantasy. I'm gonna buy him this game," and then they go and buy Final Fantasy episode 2. He never played episode 1. He doesn't know that it's episodic or whatever. She's only heard him talk about Final Fantasy itself. He goes to put it in, and then he's confused. Wait, there's more I had to play before this, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, if you just try to jump in,
that's where you
at
put
episode
it in the title, expansion.
Because that's with like the Walking Dead games, like I brought up earlier. You can start from any episode. They do a quick this is what happened in episode 1, like a recap like you would get in a TV show, but you don't get all the emotion, because those Walking Dead games had emotion in them. You don't get the emotion. You don't get some of the, you don't know, okay, well, there's this character and he acts like this. So when you start playing episode 2 and, this one character is really guarded and he doesn't like to listen to other people, you don't understand why, because you hadn't played episode 1. You don't know why Lee doesn't want to trust these other guys. You don't know why Lee...
You're going to miss so much, and especially with Final Fantasy, the character development that happens when you meet, when Barrett and Cloud take down the first reactor, when you meet Aerith, you won't understand where she's coming from, because there's massive amount of character development between her and Cloud. When he falls through the church roof, he meets her adopted mother or whatever, their little garden, everything. When she gets kidnapped, you won't really understand Sephiroth's revival when everybody thinks he's dead. You won't understand what Genova is. You won't understand how you met Red. Red 13. There is so much that you won't know if game 1 is all Midgar, because so much can have, like I said, so much is in Midgar. You won't understand that. You won't understand the jealousy between Tifa and Aerith when they're in the slums, when they're in one of, I forgot what sector it is. I think it's sector 5 or whatever it was, where they meet. They're trying to get to Don Corneo, and Cloud has to dress up as a woman, and you're going back and forth between Tifa and Aerith and all these different things. They won't get any of that.
Right.
I mean, even when Cloud goes into one of the clubs and or one of these spas and it's a gay spa and he's in the hot tub with a bunch of dudes, stuff like that. Okay? You don't get any of that. You'll miss so much of the story. And then what? You're going to start off and you're at Nibelheim and you want to understand the party you're with. How did this bunch of misfits get together? Why is there a character that's like a lion dude? Why? What's this backstory? How do you know Tifa? I mean, that'll explain a little bit of the Tifa part, but you'll miss that. So I get that. That's why I think, going back to our conversation about they're going to be full price, but the best thing to do is to make them expansion, requiring the base game.
Right.
The save from the base game to play the next one's on.
Just like with that new, why can't I not think of this also? We talked about it earlier. Monster Hunter World's expansion, the Iceborne. It's an expansion. Right. Yes, it's $40, but you also have to have the base Monster Hunter World game for it to work.
And this is where I go back to the level adjustment. You can't level up Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, Red, all the way up to, let's say, level 20, level 30. You can't level them all the way up there, and then somebody who hasn't played the first game starts game 2, doesn't know where they're at, and then what? Where do you start them? Do you start them all at an average base level with average gear? And how do you decide what materia they have, what materia they sold, how much gil they start with? All the stuff that is dependent on your first part of the game.
Exactly.
So making it an expansion is, in my opinion, the best way to go. Mm-hmm. Because it forces you to play game 1.
Right. And again, we don't know how many episodes it's going to be. We're just assuming 3, because that's an easy number to say since the first game was 3 discs. It could be 4, it could be 5. Nobody knows right now. All we know is that it is episodic.
And the more episodes there are, the more character the development there can be.
Exactly.
I mean, if one entire game is spent in Niflheim, the second game is spent traveling through, learning about chocobos, learning about Nibelheim, and getting to Red alone. Red Cosmo Canyon's a lot. And you haven't even gotten to Yuffie yet, because you haven't been able to travel across yet. You haven't met Sid yet, because you have to go to the city off the, not Costa del Rey, but you have to go to the other city that's off the coast. That's got this massive cannon on it. You have to go there. And there's a whole other storyline there. and that's where you find the airship. That's where you guys take the airship, and that's when you're able to actually go across to the island. I forgot what it's called, but that's where you find Yuffie. And I mean, that's a whole other story they can expand on and make that even bigger than what it was. Then you have Gold Saucer, and you have Kate Sith, and how he's working for Shinra, but he's defecting and helping you out through the robotic cat and stuffed animal thing. You know, there's so much they can expand on and make. You know, so like I said, Game 2 goes all the way to Cosmo Canyon and dives deeper into the story that is Red 13, his dad, and who his dad really was, in the caves down below. And then that's when you hear more about the cosmos, thus Cosmo Canyon, but that's because he's got an observatory up. Nibelheim alone can be such an expansive game because maybe you can play through the flashback. Maybe a quarter or a third of the game alone could be you in the flashback, the story of Cloud as he sees it as him and not Zack, with Sephiroth when he was just a measly soldier, you know,
right? I mean,
and the events that happened there.
Heck, for all we know, there can be a whole episode that is new content that fits the story, but is loosely in the original game. We don't even know that. That could be something as well if they want to really cash in on this.
Yeah, but I don't think that that they will have an episode just with new content. They will fit new content in between old content, but it would be very alienating to just have one that is all new content. You have to stick with this. You can't just have a gap. Oh, what happened from when they went to an entire episode from when they left Midgard to when they reached the what do you call it, Nibelheim? That all that's new content, and the only old content is you fight the snake, and you see the chocobo farm and catch a chocobo.
Gotcha.
That's it. But the rest is new content. That's quite a bit. So they have to fit it in.
So before we wrap things up here, I've got a question for you. I told you I had a question for you. And my question is...
You've been asking me a ton.
No.
Go for it.
Not Final Fantasy related.
Oh, okay.
What do you think was the top 3 most downloaded games for PS4 in April 2019? See if you can guess.
Downloaded?
Most downloaded game on the PS4 in April.
Gosh, I don't know.
Just think of games that recently came out.
Well, I know you told me about Days Gone in Japan.
Well, this is in the US.
Oh, okay. Dang, I can't think off the top of my head what would have been downloaded so far.
So you don't even have a guess?
Mortal Kombat?
Exactly. That was number 1.
Okay.
So number 10 was Sekiro. Number 9 was The Division. Number 9 was The Division 2. Number 8 was Black Ops 4. Number 7 was Borderlands: The Handsome Collection. Number 6 was Minecraft.
Oh, wow.
Number 5 was MLB The Show 19. Number 4 was Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. Number 3 was World War Z. Days Gone was number 2. And then Mortal Kombat 11 was the most downloaded PS4 game in April 2019.
I haven't played it yet. It got decent reviews. But I've always been a Mortal Kombat fan, and this one supposedly takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah, I played 10, but I haven't played 11 yet. And I only played 10 briefly. I just rented it from a Redbox for a day.
I know that if I get this game, this is one of the reasons why I stopped playing my Tekken game. I will be addicted to it, and I will definitely want to get myself an arcade pad. It's one of those things. Like, these games are best played joystick and button.
Now,
arcade pad all the way.
One last one. Can you guess what the number one free-to-play game was?
Not Fortnite, is it?
No.
Okay, what is it?
Apex Legends.
Oh, I forgot about that. I mean,
And still making the list in the top 10 is DC Universe Online.
people still play that?
People still play that. Damn, what is that game? Almost 100 gig download or something like that. I remember when that game went on like the PS3, when you had like no space, that was always the game you delete because you're like, man, this is taking up half of my PS3.
Wow. I played that once, twice.
People
when
still
it first
play
came
DC
out.
Universe Online. It was the 10th most downloaded free-to-play game on the PS4 in April 2019. I mean, there was also Dead or Alive 6 Core Fighter Edition, H1Z1 Battle Royale, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019 Lite, Realm Royale, Warface, Brawlhalla, World of Warships, Fortnite, and then Apex Legends.
It beat Fortnite. Well, everybody already had it downloaded anyway, so
Probably. And
That's why.
Apex Legends did release their first technical season of content. New stuff. It was their first real big new rollout of content last month as well.
Apex is fun. I think Apex is EA's way to join the Battle Arena, and it was also the revival of Battle Arena.
Right.
But I'll still stand firm. The original mods in Arma 3 is still one of the best, but it's dead now.
So that was the last thing I wanted to ask you. I want to see if you could have guessed, and you got it. You barely got it. Mortal Kombat 11.
And that's just because that's a game I want to download, but
Right.
Gonna wait.
But with that, I want to say thank you to everybody who watched episode 3 here of the Weebo and Director Show. You can follow the Weebo and Director Show on multiple different platforms. You can follow us right here on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at Weebo N Director. And you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Weebo Director. Again, episodes do drop every Saturday right here on the Weebo and Director YouTube channel. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right, guys.